Just to kind of give you a little snapshot of what you might expect in the coming months as we begin to prepare the citizens' budget, your budget, and as we present our budget to the City Commission for their consideration. Just a few things that you're going to hear from us. And then I want to turn to the program because that really is what's most important. We intend to keep the same millage rate of 6.799 mils that the City Commission enacted last year based on my recommendation, or our leadership team's recommendation, I should say. We still enjoy the fourth lowest millage rate of all among 17 cities in our county. So I think we're still pretty competitive with respect to where we stand. I do know that was an increase. I will tell you again that increase is not going to support the bureaucracy. That increase is going to support an investment in capital projects that improve the quality of life for our city. I encourage you to come to the City Commission meeting Monday night at 6:30, where we will be giving an update on all those projects. And one of the things that I think you know about our team is when we say that we're going to do something, and when the City Commission gives us the task to do it, it's going to get done. And I think it's going to get done in a very exceptional way. And so there's probably 15 projects. Now those 15 projects are spread over 5 years, but there are probably at least 7 projects of those 15 where something was expected to get started in the current fiscal year. We're going to be making a report to the citizens and to the City Commission on Monday that something is happening with all 7 of those projects. And it's not just a little tweak here or there. We're exactly where we need to be with respect to moving those projects along. And they're very significant capital projects. Some things that you'll be hearing from us in the coming months. We'll be reporting to the Florence Villa CRA Advisory Committee and to the Florence Villa community. In the near future, we'll be talking about an update to our economic development plan for the northeastern part of our city. And so I'm not going to get into the details on that right now. I'm just going to say that I think that something positive is going to be unveiled, and we're very pleased to be able to say that some continued investments are going to occur. We are going to be making some substantial improvements to the Winter Haven Recreation Cultural Center, and many of those improvements we've listened to our citizens. And the scope of service that we have outlined for the City Commission to approve on Monday night will demonstrate that we've listened to the voices of our people. And we're going to be focusing on new programs and providing some physical space to provide better programming from our Northeast complex. So we're looking forward to that. In the coming months, I'm going to ask the major employers that comprise what we know is the Florence Villa area or the northeastern part of our city. I'm going to invite them to a meeting at the Northeast Complex. It's either going to be breakfast or lunch, and we're going to talk about the importance of creating jobs for young people. And so can't start now because we've got too much going, but we've got to get started somewhere. And so we're going to invite the store managers, if we can find the people that are higher up in the company hierarchy, then we'll do so. But we're going to invite them and encourage them to let's look for some opportunities to hire young people in our community. That's really important. Everybody's got to get a start somewhere, and so you've all been there. And so this is important. And so we're going to be doing that probably in the early fall. We're going to have a meeting very shortly with real estate agents that have property listed in the northeastern part of our city. There are some excellent lots that are, the way they're configured, whether they're fronting First Street, whether they're adjoined to Martin Luther King Boulevard, they're ripe for development. And I want to find out why there's not a business on that corner or in that particular location. and we're going to see what we can do to, to help that along. At least find out what the opportunities are. So that's going to be something that's going to be happening. One of the recommendations that will come from the Florenceville CRA Economic Plan update is going to be a beautification plan for the First Street corridor. I particularly believe that that's important. Now, I hope we can get some grant dollars from the DOT. I want to preface that. First Street is a significant gateway in and out of downtown. It's a significant gateway north and south, moving in and out of our city. It needs to be beautified. And so one way of attracting new business, one way of increasing values is to make corridors look better. And so we're going to be asking the DOT in a grant, and we're going to apply for some what they call enhancement money and see if we can't make that happen. That'll take a while. It won't happen overnight. The other thing too is that Unity Way. Unity Way is another kind of mini gateway, as I would call it. All the planners and the engineers wouldn't say that, but that's what it is to me. We need to beautify that streetscape as well. It could look a lot better than it does, and so we're going to be talking about how we might be able to do that. In the coming months, we'll begin construction on a complete street on Lake Silver Drive. The Monday night, your city commission will be approving. They'll be considering, and hopefully. I didn't want to get out ahead, Commissioner. Wait a minute. We are proposing to enter into a design-build contract with a local company, Everett Whitehead and Sons, to begin a design-build for a new skate park. Now, the skate park the first part of this project will involve the design and construction of approximately a 17,000 square foot skate park in the vicinity of the MLK Park and amphitheater. And we also will be making upgrades to the amphitheater. We'll be taking out the concrete seats. We'll be establishing an earthen berm. There will be the stage is going to be substantially improved so people can enjoy the venue of Lake Silver and different events that occur there. And then we already talked about the improvements to the feasibility study for the Northeast Complex. We're going to be starting in the fall with the reconstruction of MLK Boulevard from 1st Street to 11th Street. It's a major corridor. There's 7,100 cars a day that travel that roadway. That's one of the projects that's in the current capital improvement program. And then probably in December, we'll be commencing with our citywide resurfacing program. And all of these decisions are data-driven decisions because our team makes decisions based upon what does the evidence say. And so I'm very pleased with the fact that our leadership team have risen to that particular challenge. In the coming months, we are going to have continued discussion, but eventually we'll be talking to the City Commission about the possibilities. This is about creating jobs, and this is about expanding our economy. The city owns 116 acres adjacent to the Interlogistics Center, where CSX has the rail center there, and then of course Gem Capital owns the property around the ILS. And so there have been some particular issues for why those properties haven't particularly developed as quickly as I think everybody had hoped. But I think that we may believe that creating some competition might be what the private sector needs. We own 116 acres. So what will be up for discussion that we'll present to the City Commission is how best to proceed. Government shouldn't compete with the private sector. I think that's kind of a fundamental principle. But we do own 116 acres. And so we'll have to figure out what's the best way for us to unleash the 116 acres for the purposes of creating jobs for people, expanding our economy, and adding value to our city. So that's something that we'll be talking about in the very near future. That is a discussion that Bruce Lyon, our Winter Haven EDC CEO, brought to me a few months ago. And the longer I thought about it, the more I thought, well, maybe that's not too bad an idea. So kudos to Bruce for having presented that idea. And so more to come with respect to that concept. I guess that if the world's not up to me, but if it was, and if I could snap my fingers, probably we wouldn't develop all the 116 acres. We figure out what was most strategic. But it is good property. I'd like to see money invested, at least some of the parcels be pad ready. I want a marketing plan, and I want lending institutions at the table ready to loan money to particular investors, and I'd like to see those local investors here in this city. So we'll see how that works out. In the next month or so, you'll be hearing from Brad Betty, who is here today. He was hired by the city to develop a study on homeless, particularly focusing on adolescents. And so that study is in draft stages. We're reviewing it. And of course, it will be presented to the City Commission in the near future. And that's going to be that's an important topic. Last but not least, our Assistant City Manager has done an excellent job, along with Rada and Whitehead, with respect to the construction of our field house and conference center that you see right now is under construction. And so we're going to meet our deadline of being open for business in November of 2019. Our 2019 budget is going to be centered around choices with respect to how best to expand the economy. As I just got through mentioning, we're going to be talking about the possibilities of going to a fully automated garbage collection system. Right now we're semi-automated, and so those are things that we'll be discussing in the near future. And then I think it's time for me to be quiet now and introduce our guest. This team, led by Public Safety Director Charlie Bird and Anita Silwal, have really taken the business of moving our neighborhoods forward very seriously. So today, you're going to hear about the progress that we've been making and working in our neighborhoods. Again, we started geographically in areas where we have issues, where we have crime, where we have a lot of abandoned vehicles, vacant lots that are overgrown, deteriorated housing. All of those things detract from being the best city in Polk County. And so we want every neighborhood to be the best that it can be. And the more that people are involved and the less that government's involved, the quicker and the better those neighborhoods will be, because the people that are proud in the right way, that would best be demonstrated by your efforts, not government. So I'm pleased to introduce Chief Bird this morning and Anita Silwal to continue our discussion about how we're moving neighborhoods forward in our city.
Did everybody hear me okay?
Oh, yes.
All right, carry this thing around. Of course, everybody's familiar with our I-5s. I mean, you've seen this. We're pushing this out. This is the mission. And our project that we're going through, that we're going to kind of discuss today, all keeps all of this in mind. This is something that we put together. Let me backtrack real quick. I want to say, for those of you that don't know, because he has to leave, our Deputy Chief David Knowles from my staff, and then Captain Jose Sanchez back there, who is the Captain of Support Services. Just FYI, you have a code issue.
No.
So, thanks, David. So keeping the mission, the vision, the values at the core heart of what we're trying to accomplish is what we did. So what I'm going to do is kind of give you an update. Most of you have probably heard of our initiative. We're calling it an initiative. I'm going to change gears on that in just a little bit, of going into the neighborhoods, utilizing a completely different way of doing things with code issues to include getting resources to people that need them, to educate people on what their violations are and how they can become in compliance, rather than just going out, doing a citation, giving them a citation, and then expecting them to comply, and then or show up at a hearing. That doesn't always work. In fact, it doesn't work a lot of the time. So we're trying to take a different approach to that. The goal on this Neighborhoods on the Move is to make the city's neighborhoods cleaner, safer, healthier, and connected through exceptional customer service. It's all about customer service. We want to clean up our neighborhoods. We want to make our neighborhoods very viable so that more people will move into it. So the investors, Mr. Calgarias is one of the ones in the neighborhoods that they're going into, and they're refurbishing those areas. And we want to make it so that people want to live in those neighborhoods, and we want to help them get there. The whole idea behind this is, how do we get to compliance? That's what we're looking for. We want to get to compliance. Our first, we had, this is kind of an outline. Our first neighborhood was around the Winter Haven High School, Avenue G and 6th Street perimeter. We did that on Friday, March 8th. That has been completed. The Oaklawn Cemetery area, southwest, was neighborhood 2. We did that Friday, May the 3rd. And what we do is we go into the area, a hotspot area that we have. And a hotspot, you heard the city manager talk about data. We're using data to say, okay, we have code problems. For those of you that don't know broken windows theory, code issues, blight in a neighborhood helps promote crime in the neighborhood, which then means there's more police officers in the neighborhood, and it shows that, okay, people don't care if crime happens in their neighborhood. So the broken windows theory is we fix that. We fix that, and then people are proud to live in their neighborhood. They reinvest in their neighborhood. They become involved in their neighborhood. And then our future initiatives, we have more. We have about 8 hot spots, but the future ones coming up are the downtown Oaks area, which we'll be doing Friday, July 12th. We kind of put that on the back burner a couple times because of all the 7th Street project, because we don't want to go in there with all that going on and then really confuse people. But as long as everything keeps going the direction that we're going, July 12th is when we'll be in that area. And then our 4th neighborhood is just north of the police department in the Avenue Q area, and we'll do that in September. So we want to engage the residents. Again, we're trying to get the residents involved into this program. We want them to be involved in going to their neighbors, i.e. Somebody's yard is above 6 inches, and we go in there and we do the citations all the time. Well, you get into the neighborhood and you find out there's this little old lady who doesn't have a lawnmower because it was given away or sold because she can't mow the yard, and her husband passed away last year, and that's the reason her yard is over 6 inches. So how do we get her to compliance? Well, oftentimes what we found in one of our first initiatives is when we were going along, a neighbor found out about that. That was an actual situation, by the way, and the neighbor started mowing her yard for her. Plug it into it, seeing how we can get without going through the normal steps that we've usually gone through. The city divisions work together. Let me tell you something to talk about what the city manager talked about. You have a fantastic team in Winter Haven, and we are getting better. We're working better together. We are getting more relationships. You think that we have relationships. There's people that I don't even know that they work for the city sometimes, and I'm getting out and walking, and I get into this. There's a brand new guy that's doing the garbage collection or whatever. I didn't meet that person before. This helps us get that together. But we're working as a team. And police fire code, and this started out as a police fire code initiative. But now we've got solid waste, natural resources, streets, and drainage that's been involved, because when you're walking in a neighborhood and you're outside the car, you're not just picking up garbage, you're seeing things that can be identified as issues that you wouldn't normally see outside of that vehicle. Trees that are over sidewalks where you got to duck down to walk around. Things like that you don't notice when you're driving around. We walk our neighborhoods and we talk with the residents face to face. We listen to the problems they have. We didn't just talk about code. This is developed into, we had Brad Beatty that's out there that's helping connect the dots. It's about getting them the resources that they need so that they can have a quality of life that's much better. Informing the residents of specific violations. Sometimes with houses, numbering of houses, when they pick their garbage cans and take their garbage cans in and out, a lot of them just didn't even know. I didn't know I had to have the numbers up there. Why is that important? Well, it's important from the safety aspect, because whenever a firefighter or a police officer is trying to find your house quickly, and we don't know which, we don't have guys that grew up in Winter Haven being police officers here, and they go driving down the street and they don't see the house number. That can be a delayed response. We don't want that. So the house numbers are important. Providing solutions for the cleaner neighborhoods. How do we get you to compliance? You're going to hear me say that over and over again. Connecting citizens with community resources. Identify citizens wanting to work with city members to improve the neighborhoods. In other words, we've had residents that come up and say, you know what, I was a member of this HOA or this neighborhood group a number of years ago in Texas or wherever the case may be, or even right here in Winter Haven, and it worked so well. I would love to be the person to liaison with that, and that's where they get involved with Anita. And that gives us a contact within that neighborhood to now start getting the citizens involved in their neighborhood and having ownership of those neighborhoods. The first neighborhood, this is kind of, I know it's hard to see, that's kind of the area that we hit. That was our hot spot. The outcomes for that, we had members that got to know each other, the community, city, community, and other organizations, i.e. Brad, Heart for Winter, Haley Group. There's been other groups that have partnered with us and gone out and walked with us. Members were able to identify issues faced by citizens and offer assistance. And I'll talk about that in a second. Citizens were very receptive to the goal of the program. They were excited to see us out there. In fact, since we started this initiative and we've gotten media coverage that we've gotten, there's been a lot of folks that have called and said, hey, when you hit my neighborhood? We'll be hitting neighborhoods. Right now, we're just doing the hot spots, okay? So give us time. There were 333 properties within that first zone, and we did 111 courtesy notices. You notice we're calling it a courtesy notice. That's the goal. We're doing it so that it's not, we don't want it to be in your face. We don't want it to be, now, let me preface this. If you're a slumlord, we are still going to go after you. This did not give you a free pass. Apparently some of them showed up in some of the hearings and said, Chief said that this is a free pass, so I don't have to do this. No, that's not what Chief said. That's not the case. We are still going to go after you, but this is an opportunity, if you're a slumlord, to get on board with the program and have some help, and we'll partner with you. Okay? We had 24 missing improper address numbers, and you can kind of list. The main thing is, and you kind of, those are self-explanatory, but other conditions, that's usually something that was more than just our team could do. That's something where code has to go back out, and it's going to take a little bit more work to help them get there. For instance, there was one in our first, and this is a success story, where we went to, everybody thought it was a house that was falling apart. And I'll tell you, I don't know how this lady's living in it. But live wires, the electric wires were covered with trees. I mean, it was a fire hazard waiting to happen. And we're still working on that, but we were able to, and Brad's working on that because of that property. He's helping us with trying to help get resources, maybe get her where she has some viable answers to what she can be a solution. Because I'm going to tell you something, no human being should be living in this house. And we were able to identify that because we're out knocking on the doors. That's what other conditions. Requested resources are resources that were requested, like medical, housing, different things like that, where we would give them, put them in contact with other folks. Sorry, we had 50% compliance on re-inspections in this area. That's pretty good. You may be looking at going 50%. That's not. That's 50% that self-complied. Those are people that self-complied just from this initiative. That's a big number. Okay? That's a big number. We'll take that, and we'll build from that. There were 55 curb gutter assets cleaned, 15 trees trimmed or removed. This is all part of the public works side. When they got out of their cars, they saw some of the things. 8 storm structures flushed. If you haven't been in that area, they painted the curbs. It's a totally different looking, it's a totally different area, just from that little bit of time. 6 sidewalk repairs, 1 alleyway repair, and they don't have There was no specific information on junk being picked up. There was one gentleman that had these mattresses stacked up there, and I was determined to get him to comply. And I kept going back and visiting him and saying, I put my rubber gloves on, I'm like, I'll help you carry these out to the curb because it's free. No, I'm just gonna I got friends that's gonna help me take it to the dump. I'm like, no, you don't. That's help me carry. If you just give me permission, I'll do it for you. You can't get it any better than this. After about the 6th time, who was just telling me? Brad said, hey, they finally got rid of the mattresses. But it worked. It worked. And that's the whole idea behind this. Neighborhood 2, this was the area of the Oak Lawn neighborhood. We had 182 properties within that zone, 75 courtesy notices issued. We had a 30% compliance on that. We had people at this point driving up to us and saying, thank you for being in our neighborhood, we're excited about that. Well, let me explain to you why we're here. Well, you don't got to explain that. I saw that on the news or read it in the newspaper. I'm just glad you're here. When you get to, this is a great program, this is a great idea. I have 3 rental houses in this area. Please hit mine. Make sure I'm in compliance. He had one that he needed to fix. The point is he was motivated in that. In that area, we had 2 tree removals, 2 tree trims, and 6 junk pickups, or 30 yards of junk. I don't know what that equals. It looks like a lot to me, so I'm just going to go with it's a lot. I do know that we had appliances that were put out by the road, tires, all kinds of stuff. So I would say that's quite a bit. A success story in there was a code compliance officer was knocking on the door, a lady comes out, she had a few minor things. What we didn't know was that her house had caved in the back and was leaking, and her landlord wasn't fixing it. And she said, well, I'm glad you're here. What can you do about this? Well, we had no idea. Code can't just go through people's houses. It doesn't work that way. You have constitutional rights, you know. So they said, well, if you invite us in, we can help start working on this and help you possibly get to a solution. She would have been living like that. She didn't know where to reach out to. She didn't know where the resources were. She was a renter. So that's a success story that we look at. I'm going to talk a little bit more at the end. Anita's going to kick it over because you're going to see how this segues into her neighborhood. And then I want to tie it together when we get to the end here. And Anita.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Anita Silwal, and I'm a new neighborhood planner for City of Winter Haven. It's been a good time with the City of Winter Haven for past 4 months. I'm really enjoying it. Just a little bit background of mine. In 2017, when I accepted the job at City of Lakeland, me and my husband, we used to commute from Tampa, and we were looking for a better place to live in Polk County. I was working for City of Lakeland, and for 3 months we commuted. We visited a couple different cities in Polk County and found Winter Haven the best. And we moved to Winter Haven. And every day I used to travel from Winter Haven. I just live nearby Lake Howard to Lakeland. My husband works for Florida Poly. Last May I graduated from Florida Polytechnic with my second master's degree. And in the beginning of this year we were planning to move out of this state. And because I have a degree in innovation and technology, but I always wanted to work for people. So I was just trying to figure out what would be the best choice for me. And my husband suggested me, hey, perhaps we will find this opportunity in some bigger cities. But no, I found that opportunity here in Winter Haven. And I really can't tell you how much I love this city. And every day when I work with people, it's such a joy. The tears falling down. It's not good. I have some big problem with my life. Anyway, so it's such a pleasure to work with community and community leaders to help them identify the resources, to help them connect with different resources that we provide as a city. And in future, I hope with the resources that the Chamber provides or Economic Development Council provides. So moving forward, when I was hired, Eric Labby, who's my current boss, and Merle Bishop asked me, what's your plan? So I thought, when we talk about neighborhood planning, it's not we plan and tell the residents, hey, we're gonna build this and this, such and such in your neighborhood. It doesn't work that way. We need to bring people on board. We need to make sure that public input is vital in each and every neighborhood planning process. So we came up with this idea of establishing and encouraging the residents to establish the neighborhood associations. I know it takes time, it's not easy, as I said, but I am very, very happy to share that we have some of the neighborhoods who are like really coming up together to form a neighborhood association and are ready to kick off neighborhood projects and work along with city. So when we talk about neighborhood vision, we need to make sure we keep the identity of our neighborhood distinguished, because I believe every neighborhood carries a character, a distinguished identity, that's what I call it. And every neighborhood has a history. We believe, we celebrate diversity for sure, but we need to make sure how we can combine everything together and help our neighborhoods be identical and make sure each of them carries their own pride and be distinguished. I believe, I understand all of those are Winter Haven neighborhoods, but we need to make sure each and every of them carries their own value, context, and character. Connected neighborhoods. In terms of social connection, I envision our neighborhoods to come together perhaps like once a year and celebrate Neighborhood Day. September 28th is the National Neighborhood Day, if I'm correct. So I want to see people recognizing the fact and the value of establishing relationship and sharing ideas. I'm sorry. And at the same time, I want to envision the neighborhood which are connected. I want neighborhoods to have sidewalks. I want to have like a street grid pattern where our neighborhoods and where our kids can play safe, where our neighbors are like riding bicycles every morning and evening. When I drive by from Lake Howard to my office, every morning I see people biking or walking on the sidewalks, and I feel so good to see that. And not only in Lake Howard, I want to see that in each and every neighborhood around our city. Livable neighborhood, as Chief mentioned, we have already started this, safe, clean, and healthy. When I went and visited some of the neighborhoods, the resident asked me, so when is that code initiative thing coming into our neighborhood? I'm like, yes, we are coming in there, but it's your responsibility to tag along with us. It's not just city's responsibility. So, just an instance, the Florence Villa neighborhood, let me get it exactly correct. The east side of Unity Avenue and the west side of First Street. So that's the particular neighborhood right now I'm like working very closely with. And when I told them September 6th is the date when we will have the code initiative program in here, and they told me, hey, our neighborhood want to tag along with the code Chief's initiative. It's not just Chief's initiative. We want to make our neighborhood beautiful. And how do we sustain that program? If neighbors come together and organize maybe quarterly program to clean up their neighborhoods, we can keep our neighborhood clean and safe and healthy like all the year. I want to see green spaces in our neighborhoods. I want to see open spaces where kids can go freely and walk and play and be near their home. You don't have to like travel 5-10 miles just to go and enjoy a little open spaces. So this is the concept of our neighborhood vision. And at the same time, we need to make sure we offer a variety of the choices for housing for our people here. And we need to make sure that our neighborhoods are not only socially but also economically vibrant. We are trying to help them identify and tag along with the resources that's within the city to make our neighborhood economically vibrant. So right now, we are in a very initial stage to establish our neighborhoods. establishing the neighborhood association is very important because that association will provide our residents a common platform to voice their concerns. Sometimes I receive a call saying like, hey, we don't have such and such in our neighborhood, where should I go and talk to you? I'm happy to take all the calls, but if we have a neighborhood association, it would be a common platform for the residents, and those neighborhood associations will be led by the community residents themselves. So we are trying to provide them a platform not only to voice their concerns, but for the leadership too. Neighborhood signs and identifiers. I'm pretty sure most of you have seen this Interlaken neighborhood identification sign. It looks so pretty, so good. So right now, as we start establishing the neighborhoods, recognizing them, we look forward to put signs, the sign toppers and identification signs in our neighborhood. It helps to, for sure, build the pride as well as distinguish each and every neighborhood. Neighborhood improvement grants. These grants are available for projects that implement physical improvements or enhancements in the neighborhood, increase public safety, or provide educational and cultural opportunities that benefit neighborhood residents. So right now we are working on this program, and this type of program will help, not only help the residents to come up with ideas, but help them to lead and complete the project on their own. For sure, we will monitor the project and we will make sure we administer that whole grant program, but we want to make sure the neighborhoods are, the residents are involved in all those processes. These are the types of examples of the neighborhood improvement grant projects from Orlando and Lakeland. The one on your left is the playground equipment installed in Orlando. The middle one is a street light, and the last one is the crime prevention awareness activity that happened in Lakeland in partnership with Flying Tigers. As we talk about smart city, we need to make sure we are driven by the data that we have. So I'm like in near future, once we have established neighborhood, what I envision is to build these interactive neighborhood maps where you can easily access the neighborhood demographics, neighborhood history, nearby location, travel routes, and learn about the ongoing projects in the neighborhood. The image on your right is the neighborhood in Seattle. I believe that's the screenshot of the neighborhood in the Seattle, where you can see different neighborhoods and all those different icons over there. When you go into the neighborhood maps and click on any icons, you will learn about what's nearby. Okay, where can I go? What's my neighborhood? What's the history of my neighborhood? So it's going to be an interactive neighborhood map. As I'm working with the neighborhoods in our city, we are trying to understand what's the strength of our neighborhood, what are the weaknesses, what are the traits, and what are the opportunities in our neighborhood. Sometimes we just like look into the fact, oh, this neighborhood has a lot of blight and it might take a lot of time to prove it. But at the same time, every neighborhood has their own strength and own opportunities, and we need to identify them and develop a strategic plan on how to overall uplift and revitalize that neighborhood. Right now we have established a neighborhood service team in the city. So the main goal of establishing this team is to provide a single point person to coordinate assistance for neighborhoods from various city agencies. So this team, I'm leading this team, and we have a utility service department representative, park, rec, and cultural department, fire department, growth management department, public works department, and police department. So how this team works is, for instance, if you have some issues in your neighborhood, you don't need to call to different departments. Sometimes you never know which department you need. Just give me a call, and I'll make sure your issues are addressed. This is a recent example. I received a call from a lady who resides in the county boundary, and she gave me a call. I guess like she visited the city hall and said like, hey, I really need this to get addressed. I really can't wait the city garbage collection scheduled to come and pick this up because it's spreading rats and like we're having problems. So we made sure that we addressed her problem in one business day. We don't wait for our schedules when it comes to exceptional customer service. We just do it. We are trying to establish the relationship with the different neighborhoods that we have here in Winter Haven. So far, we are in communication with the Interlaken neighborhood, around the lake neighborhood, Villa Manor, Pinehurst neighborhood, Forest Villa, Winter Haven neighborhood, Boggy neighborhood, Sunshine Tree neighborhood. I just want to emphasize this again. It's not overnight. It really takes time when you go out and identify the community leaders and try to establish the neighborhood association. But I'm so glad that I received so many calls from the residents saying like, hey, I want to get involved, so what's the process? What's next? What can I do? So as we try to establish this relationship, we don't seek a short-term relationship. We are seeking a long-term relationship where and try to empower our residents to take the lead for the neighborhood. Engagement, as we go ahead, we will develop, update, and maintain the neighborhood directory. And at the same time, we are trying to engage our residents, our people via social networking platform. I realize Nextdoor is very popular among neighborhood. And we started the Nextdoor account shortly after I joined here on March 8th. I believe that's Women's Day. And I found we have 4,140 verified residents and 67 neighborhoods. That's a lot. So how Nextdoor works is like, it doesn't work on our boundary. They have their own boundaries. So that's the reason why it has 67 neighborhoods. You may be like questioning, like 67 neighborhood, how can city handle that? So Nextdoor is a private social networking service for our neighborhoods. Over 3,000 public agencies across the US use Nextdoor. So far, through Nextdoor, we have reached out to more than 4,000 residents. I apologize for that. So far, in Nextdoor, we have more than 4,000 verified residents, which is 13% of the household of the city. 10,214 residents have viewed their posts in feed, opened emails, and clicked on agency's post. So a simple post that I make, that I make on Nextdoor, so far 10,214 residents have viewed it and responded it. And I have received more than 10 messages, private messages in Nextdoor with neighborhood concerns. And as we start using it more, I believe we will start hearing from people more. And I want to request all of you, if you use Nextdoor, please subscribe to City of Winter Haven Nextdoor account. Moving forward, I want to explore the opportunities on how we can use our data to come up with a data-driven solutions for our neighborhood. How we use online-based platform to collect neighborhood concerns and recommendations. I'm trying to work on that right now with the web application where if you see anything, for instance, if you see a pothole, you don't need to call City Hall. You just click that picture and send it via the web app. And we will make sure it's heard and it's addressed. At the same time, I'm looking forward to how to identify the trends in terms of property taxes and how to use web-based application like ISRI Community Analyst to analyze neighborhood demographics and market in the neighborhood. Developing neighborhood action plan. Once we have this neighborhood association and when we do the need assessment and SWOT analysis, we want to come up with strategic action plan for each and every neighborhood, addressing the housing issues, maintaining the character of the neighborhood, boosting neighborhood economy, and improving connectivity. Neighborhood grants. There are like so many federal and corporate grants available for neighborhood revitalization. I'd like to see City of Winter Haven applying for those federal grants for housing program and for neighborhood revitalization program. And that's it. Thank you. I guess Chief Bird has something to say on.
Just to tie it. Sorry. If I can project out, that's what I prefer. You know, this project, this initiative, it started as an initiative. Actually, the ground roots of it were trying to look at data to see if we needed to do a nuisance abatement board. And then it kind of grew from there and developed from there. And the data, what we found out is that the data that we need to make good decisions and strategies within our neighborhoods, we didn't have, or we have to mine it. It's very hard to mine that data. So this initiative is starting to develop that data. And those partnerships that we have with folks like Brad and these neighborhood leaders and other businesses in these neighborhoods, that helps us gather data that we need, that as we go forward we can plan better strategies. This is not a short-term initiative anymore. I say short-term. This was over a year when we hit those hot spots with all the hot spots we had. So it would have been February-ish that we would have completed this. This is no longer that. This is now developed and evolved into a best practice. This is something that we need to be doing as a community long-term. And I can tell you that this particular project, this particular way of looking at things outside the box, and that's what we got to do. We got to look at the tradition. The traditional doesn't always work. Code enforcement and citing all that does not always get, I mean, we've been doing that for how many years? And how much blight do we still have? So we have to try something different. And that's what this is. And your team members, the people that go out and hit these, hit on the road, and you can join us anytime if you want to. You can't do any citations, but you can certainly help us and be eyes and ears and help us document. Or if you just want to walk for a little while and see what it's like. It gets us connected with the people, and this is a best practice. So this is something that we're looking at now as something that we will be putting into play moving forward. It's long term. That's why I say we're going to be hitting not just the hot spots. We're going to use data, but we're going to be doing this long term. And I think that just the two that we've had so far have been successful. I think they've exceeded my expectations on success. And the other part is how do we get this into our culture? We have brand new officers, brand new firefighters that are now doing those walks. They have to do some sort of community outreach while they're in their orientation phase or while they're brand new. They're feeding in the mission. They're going to the Northeast Rec and doing after-school programs or whatever, just to spend some time, because we want that to be part of their culture right from the beginning. That's what's expected of them. That's what our community is, and if you'll be plugged in, that it's not just, public safety is not just about putting out fires and making arrests. It's much more than that. So I just wanted to tie that together, and hopefully you saw the benefit and the value here, and you see that that Winter Haven has a great team that's moving in the right direction. And I'm telling you that those relationships are picking up steam, and they're developing and they're building, and it's starting to steamroll. And that's why I say now this is no longer an initiative. This is a best practice. Thank you.